Greetings. This is Paul the Poke from paulthepoke.com. Welcome to This Week in Prophecy. Been kind of quiet, prophetically speaking. Now, Trump is doing plenty with his executive orders and foreign policy. So we're going to take a look at the highlights of that related to Israel and the Middle East. Some of the other stuff he's doing is entertaining, but I don't know that it's necessary for this format. It's fun stuff to watch. It's Donnie T in action. It's about all you can say. We're going to go to Genesis 12, verse 3. I will bless those who bless you and curse those who curse you, and all the families of the earth will be blessed through you. So this is, effectively God's foreign policy statement. And he's talking to Father Abraham in the direct line through Jesus. And I get this every time I put this up. Well, those aren't the real Jews. These Jews are imperfect and they're flawed and they this and then all the issues and all the shortcomings the Jewish people have. Yes, correct, accurate. And did God choose Israel because of their collective character? No. No, he chose them. He chose them. His choice. And they're not perfect. And we need to get over it. And frankly, are we any different? Are we perfect? Do we have shortcomings? Do we continue to mess up and screw up and sin and whatever, even though we believe in Christ? The answer is yes. So, God's merciful. God is gracious. And as much as, he chose us as believers in Christ before the creation of time and knows the choices we would make, and despite of all the stupid stuff we've done, evil stuff we've done, he still accepts us because we believe in his son. Israel's no different. He chose them. They're flawed. Let's just keep that in perspective. Is what it is. Some people will reject it. That's fine too. That's their business. So back to the news. President Trump with Netanyahu at the press conference proposes the United States take over the Gaza Strip. It's the Riviera of the Middle East. We'll read his quotes here. We'll own it and be responsible for dismantling all the dangerous unexploded bombs and other weapons on the site. Level the site, get rid of the destroyed buildings, level it out, create an economic development. That's President Trump with Benjamin Netanyahu. Now, for those of you who want to read further, there's plenty of information out there, and this is about a week old at this point. I chose the one from NPR, which, by the way, it appears took some U.S. aid money. Stunning. Press bought and paid for by taxpayer dollars. That's been a disgusting happening of the last week. All the waste that's being uncovered. And I guess I talked about some of this earlier. Going back to Christ. And us being his believers, are we perfect? No, but we are saved by the grace of God in his Son, in Christ. So, lots of imperfect humanity. We all have a big sin issue. And the issue is, where do we stand with God the man, Jesus? Did he die for sin? Was he raised from the dead? Did he demonstrate power over sin? Sin equals death. The wage of sin is death. Jesus overcame it. So, anyway, if y'all want to read about Trump and Netanyahu and the Gaza ceasefire, that's fine. Proverbs 21, verse 3 and verse 15, to do righteousness and justice is more acceptable to the Lord than sacrifice. So go do the right thing and be just with others. And that's more acceptable than burning a sacrifice. How about that? When justice is done, it is a joy to the righteous, but terror to the evildoers. So, think about that within the context of all the nonsense going on down at the border. The just free flow of illegal immigration in through the United States, through Mexico and Canada. Now, Trump tweeted this out, or posted this on Truth Social. It's been posted on X, Gab, several other places. I spoke with President Claudia Sheinbaum of Mexico. I'm going to comment on that. That is a Jewish woman in charge of Mexico. What do you make of that? It was a very friendly conversation wherein she agreed to immediately supply 10,000 Mexican soldiers on the border separating Mexico and the United States. Now, I've read some places that this agreement was already in place with Mexico and also Canada to the north, but didn't appear anything was being done about it. But would appear now we've got some action on our borders by our neighbors. These soldiers will be specifically designated to stop the flow of fentanyl and illegal migrants into our country. We further agreed to immediately pause the anticipated tariffs for a month period, during which we will have negotiations headed by Secretary of State Rubio, Secretary of Treasury Scott Bessent, and Secretary of Commerce Howard Lutnick. That's a pretty formidable bunch right there. You guys looked into the histories of Secretary of Treasury Bessent and Secretary of Commerce Lutnick. These boys are real businessmen. These aren't political people. Trump's got good people in place who are going to represent the United States from an American point of view. More I read about Bessent, we better hang on for some short-term stuff, but he's not messing around. Well, Trump's not messing around. Different tact it's going to be taken economically from a policy standpoint than what we've seen over 12 of the last 16 years. And frankly, even during Trump's first administration, I don't know. Well, I know he didn't have the people in place like he does now. So, interesting times coming. And I look forward to participating in those negotiations with President Sheinbaum as we attempt to achieve a deal between our two countries. Also, Canada has agreed to ensure we have a secure northern border and to finally end the deadly scourge of drugs like fentanyl that have been pouring into our country, killing hundreds of thousands of Americans while destroying their families and communities all across the country. And again, this plan appeared to be in place, but was not being delivered upon by the Canadians, specifically Prime Minister Trudeau. We'll be reinforcing the border with new choppers, technology, and personnel, enhanced coordination with American partners, and increased resources to stop the flow of fentanyl. Nearly 10,000 frontline personnel are and will be working on protecting the border. In addition, Canada is making new commitments to appoint a fentanyl czar. We will list cartels as terrorists, ensure 24/7 eyes on the border, launch a Canada-U.S. Joint Strike Force to combat organized crime, fentanyl, and money laundering. I've also signed a new intelligence directive on organized crime and fentanyl, and we will be backing it with $200 million. As president, it is my responsibility to ensure the safety of all Americans, and I'm doing just that. I'm very pleased with this initial outcome. And the tariffs announced on Saturday will be paused for a 30-day period to see whether or not a final economic deal with Canada can be constructed, fairness for all. Now, he's still out there, he being Trump, talking about Canada being the 51st state. Canada doesn't take it seriously. I take Trump seriously. I mean, I've heard Trump repeatedly talk about Canada getting close to $200 billion a year in subsidies. And you pull that out from Canada's economy, they got some problems. And we may see some short-term pain here, especially when it comes to oil and gas, because we get a lot of oil and gas from Canada. But, if we have American drilling and exploration taking place. And what's that, 12 to 18 months before that stuff's online? I mean, I could see a short-term squeeze where, we experience some elevated prices at the pump and for natural gas and heating and electricity and those sorts of things, the trickle-down effects on groceries and other goods. But once that's up and going, and we've got the resources, that's not an issue. Now, getting it in place for delivery for the American people, and then ultimately to being an exporter, by the time we get to, say, back half of 26, early 27, things will be going down, just flooding it. That's one of the Besant's plans. He wants to increase oil and gas production. His 333 plan, increase it by 3% production, which that's a lot of oil and gas, but that's his plan. That will drive down prices. In the short term, getting there could be a little bumpy, but something to think about. And this happened right after the meeting with Mexican President Sheinbaum of Mexico. U.S. Air Force intelligence aircraft have entered Mexican airspace after Mexico agreed to cooperate in fighting the cartels. Practically unheard of. Pete Hegseth sent a warning to the cartels saying all options are on the table. President Trump demanded 100% operational control of the border, and Hegseth is delivering. And this is from Nick Sorter on Twitter.com, X.com. And this Boeing RC-135V plane is a reconnaissance plane. We're essentially listening to whatever's going on. Communications in and around Baja California and the Mexican coast there. So, taking a little intel. Just saying. This also happened within the week. Quakes in various places, Jesus warned us, was coming at some point before his return. It was a bit of a nothing burger as far as, there were all kinds of tsunami warnings. Did not hear of any significant damage or loss of life or property. I could be wrong about that. Caribbean Sea, 7.6 magnitude. Now, originally stated to be 8. Experts downgraded it, of course. Well, I'm ready for the experts to upgrade an earthquake and say, hey, this was worse than we thought. It's always an initial overreaction. And they adjust these things down for whatever reason. But you can see where this took place. East of Mexico, south and west of Cuba, straight west of Jamaica. But no damage to any of these areas. Tsunami warnings were lifted. Also, USGS has not adjusted their maps to the Gulf of America. President Trump, I'm sure, will be talking to these folks about this. Change the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. Okay. And I know that irritates some people. Sorry, the guy's funny. The guy he could have been a comedian. And put a ban on paper straws. And I know some people are scared. Well, he's got too much power. Okay, fine. We'll see what happens. Also, this happened yesterday. King of Jordan was in town in D.C. Whispers of President Al-Sisi from Egypt coming into town. Sounds like we got some encouragement to take on some Gazans. I think there are economic ties to all of these things. I think we are in the process of watching the Saudis come to the Abrahamic Accords. They're just sweetening the pot economically to all these surrounding countries with Israel. Netanyahu stayed in America for a week. I mean, he met one time with with Trump, but he stayed in town for a week talking to other leaders. So something big's up. I think it's going to be a significant expansion of the Abraham Accords, and then we're going to cover that like crazy. But otherwise, just watching. A lot of activity, prophetically speaking. I think things are being put in place. And it makes me wonder, the Antichrist will confirm the covenant. So that, in Daniel 9, so it would appear a covenant is in place, prior to the Antichrist coming onto the scene. Speculation here on my part. Are we in the process of watching some things being put together, which will become the framework for the ultimate covenant the Antichrist will confirm? So that said, I do not think Donald Trump is the Antichrist. No. Way too hated. Way too hated. Some guy's going to come along and just be loved by the planet as a man of peace, and he's going to be anything but that. And, I've talked about this in the past. When they start talking peace and safety, that's the time you better get your antenna up, start paying attention. That's when things get interesting. Not when we're fighting. I mean, the fighting's awful. War's awful. People are dying. I don't want to minimize that. But the big ticket things, as far as the Bible's concerned, before all hell breaks loose, is when they're thinking we got peace under control and we're going to solve all these problems and, oh yeah, yippee skippy, happy days are here. No, they're not. That's when things are going to get bad. Real bad. Like never been seen before. It's what it says is coming. So, at any rate, we'll move forward. I think I saw something just before I put this up. Tulsi Gabbard was confirmed. National Intelligence. Kash Patel's going to be up for vote. So is RFK Jr. for Health and Human Services. Wow, fascinating times looking to declassify all kinds of things. Assassinations at RFK, JFK, Martin Luther King. Rumors about 9/11 stuff being declassified. All kinds of things. The curtain is being drawn back, and looks like we're going to get to see what's been on the books or what's been documented. So we'll see. We'll just keep watching. If you enjoyed this, please feel free to share with others. paulthepoke.com. Whoops. Get rid of that avatar. And classified under Earthquakes, Volcano, Prophecy, Trend Update, etc. Appreciate you guys taking the time. Wishing you all a good day. Talk to you later. Bye.